I'm so nervous.
I'm the one who should be nervous.
So I guess I'm really nervous because normally when I interview someone, I do like a lot of research and I have all of these questions about the person's life. And this is an experiment, and I'll explain it to you and I'll explain it to whoever's watching right now. This is not an interview.
Okay.
And the reason why we're having this conversation is because personally, I have found myself, and I've talked about this on social media as well, found myself in a professional space where I feel like I'm staring at failure. I also feel like I can't recognize it.
Okay.
It was like, I don't know, is this failure? Am I looking at failure? It feels a lot like failure. It feels a lot like there are messages telling me that I should maybe stop what I'm doing, try something else. There's this, so it's a conflict. Okay. And I know from reading about lots of things that everybody's career goes through like phases like this. And so I felt that I don't want to do an interview where we talk about or we celebrate someone's success, because your success has been celebrated a great deal. But I want to know from people who've had long, successful careers, what you've done with failure, because everybody faces failure, and and when you're in it, it feels like the end, right?
Feels like the end. You feel like your career's ended in 1 second sometimes.
Yeah.
I've been through it. Believe me, as a musician, it comes at so many different levels. So let me start. As a musician, and now as a professional musician, where you're working for other people, you're composing for projects like films and advertising and stuff. Failure there is one thing where, you really think that you're not going to get a job again. That's one thing. But let me go even further back. I'm going to go before I went to music school, actually. When I had a band, we had a band called Crosswinds, I remember, and we advertised this huge show at Rang Bhavan, which was like the place to perform.
Yeah.
And, there was like, I looked through the curtain before we started, and there was about like 10 people in the audience, and I said, my God, this is it. My heart just sank, into my shoes.
Yeah.
But we waited for time to start, then the bell went off, and I saw the place was packed. So I said, okay, this is great. So we decided we're going to make this superb entry where we're going to play, I don't remember, a song by Simon and Garfunkel or something called Kodachrome. Where we do that, we start this whole thing, and the curtains are opening with the lights behind us, and the curtain opens, and the entire power in Rang Bhavan goes off. There's nothing. There's not a sound. And we just like pin drop silence. We're just waiting there with our guitars, not knowing when the sound's going to come back on. That was, I was completely freaked out. I said, man, this is not happening. But then it went on, and, so now this is one thing that happened to me, which I remember very clearly. Then when I went to America to study music at the Musicians Institute, a really fabulous school in Hollywood, for the orientation week, we had the professors performing and all. And of course, you expect these guys are great. And that's why they're teaching.
Yeah.
And about 4 or 5 days later, you get into your class and, your class routine and all. And I come across this boy called Tal. I remember his name even now. And we used to have a live performance workshop. And he got onto stage and he was burning it up. What a fabulous guitar player. And then he came off the stage and I was chatting with him, and he'd only been playing for a year and a half.
And you had at that point
been playing for about 7 or 8 years or whatever, longer maybe. And here it is, this guy, and I just realized the first thing is you're face to face with your mediocrity, I was nothing. These guys they were guitar players, they would eat me up. I'd been playing for even a shorter time, And the first thing I had to accept.
So that's actually, the truth about life is that it doesn't matter what you're good at. You will meet someone who's better than you.
Yeah.
You meet 10 people who are better than you.
Yeah.
And then what do? You keep going?
Well, actually, then, in fact, I talked to, we had a private counselor, private counseling once a week, where you sat with a professional, teacher. And besides playing, you also talked about what you're feeling, So I told him, I said, man, I'm scared of getting onto that stage for the live performance workshop. I said, because there are guys, first of all, number one is like the players that I'm playing with, being America also, they've grown up listening to the radio, they've grown up listening to this music, they've played guitar from the age of 6, and they're like killer players. I mean, which is why America turns out such great musicians. So, he said, make it a learning experience. He said, make all of it a learning experience. Try not to fear it, get into that other person's playing and learn something from it, And that's the only way you'll like take yourself one step further, from feeling that nervous and feeling that dejected that, I'm on stage and, and these guys are just like eating me up. So then later on, what I started doing is live performance workshops. I realized that I had a knack for like, arranging things like arranging the music and all. And we did this one tune. I remember the tune's called Tune 88, which is like blues, kind of funky blues tune. And we did it, and I wrote these harmony parts for all the guitars and all that. And man, the teachers was like, "Who did the arrangements for that?" So I said, "I did the arrangements for that."
And there was something that you were good at.
That was good. So that's when you feel that little kick that this is something that I can do. This is something. So it's in these literally baby steps. If there's even something even smaller than baby steps, that's what I have to follow.
So can I ask you a slightly mean question?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm not a musician and I don't know how that works, but there's this whole, in any career, I think there's this whole fear of, am I Mozart or am I Salieri?
No.
Which is, am I a natural born talent who's going to sit at the piano and just boom at the age of 4? Or will I have to just work at this and work at this and work at this my whole life?
Yeah.
And even then it might not happen because God has just not gifted me with that talent.
Well, it works in both ways, It works both ways because, literally I've come across a lot of musicians, especially during the lockdown, and who are great musicians. I'm like fabulous guitar players, fabulous singers, songwriters, but they're not, they're nowhere. They're nowhere.
There's no spark.
They're just there, and they've had it naturally with them. I've tried to promote them a lot, but there's only that much that can happen. And then you have other people, like especially in the guitar industry, the guitar world in India right now. There are a couple of people like this little kid called Rhythm Shaw. My God, if you must hear him. I heard him playing and I wanted to stop playing. I said, it's not possible. And he's like, now he must be like 23 or 24, maybe a little older. And I saw his videos when he was like 16 and 17, playing like he could stand up to any professional anywhere in the world. So there's both types, So you could even, you can take both the people who are like the naturals and the people who study and work really hard at it. But making it is something that neither of them can predict.
Which one are you?
Well, I'll tell you something. With me, I guess, first of all, I feel blessed that things worked out for me the way they did in, with the timings and stuff like that. I went to study music abroad and I came back to Bombay and I woke up in the morning, my friends had come over at night. Oh, you're back from the United States and this and that, studied music. And I got up, and that time I used to stay in town opposite the Oval and I'm looking at looking out in the morning and saying, what the hell am I going to do? I said, I've studied music and I've come back. My folks have spent all that money. Now, what am I going to do? I can't.
Yeah, if you had studied accounts, you would become an accountant.
What am I going to do now? What work am I going to get? What am I going to do? It just so happened that, Leslie Lewis, you must have heard the Colonial Cousins. He used to be like the in-studio guitar player for Western kind of music, So he used to work with Louis Banks and stuff like that. And a lot of other composers like Ronnie Desai, who were all Shiv Mathur, Vanraj Bhatia, all the big composers of that time. Literally a week before I came back, he decided to step out of the scene because he wanted to get into production himself. He didn't want to play freelance guitar. So there was this void for a thing. Now the thing is, I was going to come back a week later because of my graduation, the graduation week and thing. But because of the tickets, which I wasn't getting the right ticket, I had to come back a week earlier and miss graduation. I came back on the day, and the next day I got a call from composer Ronnie Desai. Ehsaan, you're back from the United States now. So I said, yes. Are you free to are you interested in playing jingles? I said, sure. And that was it. I literally stepped in there. And the next thing you know, I was into the studio scene. It just all happened.
So do you, now when you look back, is that divine intervention? Is that right place, right time? Is that just, work on your skill and wait for the phone to ring?
I'm a very strong believer in the spirit, and I do believe in the whole spiritual, the blessing that's there, and some people have got it, Some people don't have it. But, you know, I mean, I'm sure everyone can have it. But it was for me everything that worked out in my life, whether it was doing jingles, even my first jingle that I composed. I got a call from Lentas saying that, you know, we want to do the jingle, but you have to do it on New Year's Day. So I said, you know, and my wife worked for Lentas, and through her, you know, they said, do you think he'd be interested in doing a jingle? So they said on New Year's Day. I said, man, how do I do it on New Year's Day? So I said, let me make some calls. So I called up Zubin Balaporia, who's with Induscreen now, and said, Zubin, you know, I've got an offer to do a jingle on the 1st of January. So would you be able to do it? He's saying, okay, man, let's do it. So literally, the both of us, I remember literally like reeking of vodka from the party. We're not slept only. So when I did that jingle, and that literally, my whole career turned with that.
Which one was it?
It was for Sona Spices. I remember it very well.
Can you hum it?
You're free to do the things that you really want to do, but you know how. Because you know how. There's something more that you can share, because you know how. Now you found your way, your special way. You're a woman of today.
Oh, I remember that.
Exactly. So that I did that jingle, and next thing you know, I was into composing jingles. It was never my idea. I was that time playing guitar with different people, and I was playing with Louis Banks at that time, and that was it. You know, it was, you know, that was what I wanted.
So would you say it was work on your skills, keep your powder dry, wait for the phone to ring?
That's the you have to keep that going. You have to keep that going. And, you know, I tell a lot, because I get a lot of calls from a lot of musicians and singers and all who move to Bombay, and, you know, like they want to get into music full time. And I tell them that, see, it's going to be a long time coming. It doesn't happen easily. Not at all. I mean, not here, not anywhere else in the world. You know, it's going to be as difficult anywhere. So I said, if you can have an alternate source of income, you know, do that till your career gets online. Otherwise, you know, it's very tough. It's very tough making the move to Bombay. But then on the other hand, there are kids I know. There's this lovely guitar player who I discovered during COVID. His name is Shrey Gupta, and he has got this beautiful fingerstyle way of playing. He plays percussion and all that. Yeah. And he used to regularly come on my Instagram live. I mean, today he's playing with Rahman, and you know, it just all happened, you know, for him. Yeah. So that is fantastic. So it's all very, you know, there's no prediction. There's no, you know, that I can say formula. That you have to do this. There's no formula, you know. Someone
told me this. I mean, it really it's random things just stay with you, right? When I was very young, keep your powder dry. It's a reference. I think to old Western novels or to World War I. I don't know, but you keep your gunpowder dry, so you're ready.
In fact, I've got a T-shirt that says "Keep your powder dry."
So cool. So you're ready when the opportunity strikes. You're like, you know, you can fire your gun or your musket, as the case may be. And to me, that means that it doesn't even matter if you're not working right now, but you're constantly at your skill. Yeah, right? You can't put the guitar down.
Absolutely. I mean, like right now, SEL are going through a bit of a, not lean period. Our work will start, all our jobs will start a little later because of shoot schedules and, you know, tour schedules and whatnot. But I'm at it every day. I mean, there's no day for me which is any different from me than going to the studio and working there. You know, I mean, at home, I'm practicing. I've got a million jazz books. You know, I struggle every day.
At the kitchen table in front of the fridge?
At the kitchen table in front. Literally, every day that's what I do. I mean, I'm trying to play jazz now for I don't know how many years. I'm not very successful at it. And sometimes, like last night actually, I felt I just wanted, like I told, you know, I called up a friend of mine and said, I think I'm selling all my guitars off. I think I'm going to stop playing. You know, are you interested in buying anything? You know, maybe I'll just give you this for free, you know. Yeah. What's happened to you? I said, no, I just can't play. I can't play this particular thing. I'm giving up, you know. Yeah. So you go through that, you know, all the time. But that is your stepping stone to even go further.
So what do you do? And, you know, what do you do when you feel that way? That, listen, I'm either not good enough or this is just not working out. At what point do you draw a line and say, maybe I should, I don't know.
I'll tell you something. You know, I feel that I've become a victim of something which I think a lot of people have become a victim to. Now, when I was growing up, you didn't have the internet. I mean, you rarely had television. I mean, I remember television coming in 1972, and if you wanted to, when you were listening to music, you had to wait for somebody to bring an album from abroad, which then everybody copied, and then you heard that, and you know that was it. Now the thing is, with YouTube and stuff, you're listening to people who are putting out videos every day. The point is that it's the same syndrome that I went through when I went to music school, except now it's worse because there's a lot more of them. So I'm putting on something and I hear this kid and I said, my God, what is this guy playing, you know?
Yeah.
And on one level, you feel very disheartened as well, you know? You feel good that the guy is a good player, you know, bigger sense, in the musical sense, you know, in terms of that. But I said, I wish I could play like that, you know, and I can't play like that. I mean, everything, you know, you're getting older, you're like, you know, your technique, everything, you know.
And there's this whole pressure now, especially with the internet, to know what the kids are into.
Yeah.
And to sort of be relevant to them. I mean, you did Archie, so you obviously know what the kids are into.
Absolutely.
Anyone living under a rock, you know, Dil Chahta Hai to Laksh to Kajrare to Archie. So you know what the kids are into. But I generally feel like for me in my line of work, you know, there was half an hour to do the news. There was an hour. At one point, I was doing 2 hours a day. Now I'm told, can you do it in 30 seconds? Can you do it? You know?
Yeah.
And this pressure to constantly be able to...
Very bad attention span.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's a lot.
So it's a very different time, you know. I mean, the other day I read that people today, this level of imagination has come down. People don't have the sense of imagination like a generation like ours had, you know. They didn't read Enid Blyton books and, you know, see third term and Malritas and then expect to be walking by the beach with a white and black dog and, you know, like carrying sandwiches. I used to imagine all that, you know.
You know, so for those of us who grew up reading Enid Blyton, it was constantly writing about this food that we didn't have access to.
Yes, of course.
So at that point, if each of us had a notebook and we drew out a scone, it would all look different. Cream on top. It would all look different. And I remember growing up and finally meeting a real scone in real life and being very disappointed.
Yeah, actually, you're very right. You know, I thought scone, even when I went to England, the first time I had a scone, I went for what you call a high tea. You know, these places with strawberry jam and stuff. Yeah. And I said, this is a scone. I thought it would be something like
boring.
Puffy and like, you know, almost blow away when you blow it.
No, so when we were growing up, when I was growing up in Bangalore, Iyengar Bakery is all we had. And Iyengar Bakeries would have this like conical thing that was filled with cream.
Yeah.
And in my mind, that's what a scone looked like. This was a cone. But no, that's not what it actually is like. But the other question I wanted to ask you is about integrity. Right, and again, from your perspective as a musician, has there ever been a time when you've drawn a line in the sand and said, hey, I'm not going to do that, that's not okay? Has that happened?
Well, I think earlier in our career, you know, I mean, a couple of filmmakers we worked with, I mean, I don't even want to get into them, who they were. But in those films, thank God, they never came out also. But they've asked us, you know, that man, can you say you can copy this tune? You know, I said, no way.
Just inspired.
I said,
from it.
I said, we'll, you know what I mean by this thing? I said, no, we'll give up the film, but we're not going to do it. You know, you can, you know, with our blessings, take the film somewhere else. And integrity, the thing is with me, that with the three of us, with Shankar-Ehsaan-Loy, Loy and Shankar are like the very creative people. I tend to be a little objective.
Okay.
You know, also because I think because we're doing so many jingles and stuff like that, where you had to draw a line between that. You know, the thing is that you can't create music that only you can listen to and not anybody else. You know? So I have to be objective. You know, the thing is that I think this tune's horrible. Let's not do it. Loy and Shankar said, how can you say that our tune is horrible? It's our tune. I said, no, man, I think it sucks.
It just
won't work. I think it's terrible. You know, so, and the other thing that I always take care of is to make sure nothing sounds like anything else that we've done before or somebody else has done before. You know, so I mean, I will call up friends of mine who've been in the music industry for a long time, especially like the singer Mahalakshmi. She's a very good friend of ours. Mahalakshmi, does this sound like something that you've heard before? You know, so that kind of...
Is there a possibility that you may have subconsciously heard something and it just worked its way into your work?
There's only 12 notes in the scale. You know, I mean, there's 12 notes. And so things are going to overlap, which happens very often. But you know what I mean as... You know how it's been in the film industry. So, you know, I'd rather not get into that side of things, but...
So, have you ever felt that when you turned something down, purely on integrity, and it went to another artist, and that person sort of did well, do you feel like...
Yes, you do feel, you know, kind of thing. Like recently, there was a film that we couldn't do because of budgetary constraints and whatnot. And it went on to become a massive hit, you know. And Shankar was telling me, in fact, we were on flight, you know. Say, Ehsaan, wo karna tha hame. We should have done it here. I said, yeah, but we couldn't do it because of whatever, because the thing. Still, he said, still we should have done it. So I said, I know, but that happens. Now that is something, it's either written there or it's not,
So, and as an artist, especially now, right, with the internet, because it doesn't matter what it is you do, it's all about the views, it's all about the numbers, and now the numbers are so finite that when you're making your art, is it about you feel like this is a tune that needs to be put out there because it's art, I've made it, it's special, it's whatever, or you have to keep an eye on, is this going to do the numbers? Is it?
Well, actually, do the numbers thing is, I don't think anyone from our generation would think that way because it doesn't work that way. I mean, I do still believe, maybe call me old-fashioned or call my partners old-fashioned. It's about a good tune is a good tune. You compose a good song. Now, whether it does well, there are good songs that do well, there are bad songs that do very well.
Yes, there are.
If you look at compositions, that's the way it's been. But I wouldn't really look at it from a numbers point of view, and because how can you? I can't think that way. I can't think that that I'm going to make a tune that it's going to go viral and all that. Where just like people listen to 30 seconds of the song and think. There's so many different factors that go into composition, especially when you're doing music for movies. I mean, we've done great music in the last few years for great film like really good soundtracks. The films have bombed badly, and everything is gone with it. And that's happened to us. I mean, that has been super depressing over, the last few years, where we've done really good music and the film failed and the music sunk with it. But we've had the opposite as well, where the films failed and the music's done well. But sometimes when that happens, you say, oh my God, that's 7 songs, 7 really good songs that we composed. And we always make sure that when we do an album, 6 songs, 4 songs, whatever, all 4 songs have enough value, musically, depth-wise, lyrically and stuff like that. And then you put it into a film and the film runs for 1 day and, and that's it. Then everybody say, oh, the music was bad. Say, man, come on now, don't say that, Always find something to blame.
And then when there are these series of bad moments, and what a lot of people don't perhaps understand about the film industry is that people are working for years on a project. You work for 2 years and then it runs for 3 days and then gone, right? And that becomes really difficult to then invest in, as opposed to, say, doing jingles, which is a much shorter cycle. And like you said, there was this sense of like, okay, and I know that people in the industry were feeling, is this business model now broken? Is it no longer working? How do you get yourself to say, okay, I'm going to take on another project that's going to take another 2 years and we'll see?
Well, the thing is, that's like, Shankar, told us, he's saying, Ehsaan, it's over, it's gone, forget about it. Forget about it. And now when we think about it, like even films like Laksh and all, which didn't do well, I mean, when they beat The Retreat, Laksh is one of the tunes that they play, I mean, now, is that a hit or is that a flop? It didn't do numbers, it doesn't have big numbers on YouTube, but when it's played for beating The Retreat, I mean, that means something.
And some of your music, right? There are songs that have now gotten attached with moments in our lives. As when we were raised on some of your music, Dil Jata Hai. There's a whole generation of us who cannot go to Goa. We just cannot without your music. Is there... How do you draw the line between sort of professional pride, saying, I made that, and keeping, sort of arrogance, so keeping the arrogance at bay so that it keeps you...
Well, actually, in fact, I was just thinking about this on the way here. I said that when Dil Chahta Hai came out, I was already 36. We were already doing jingles for a long time before that, Loy and I together, and in different combinations. Shankar was like 3-4 years younger. I mean, I keep wondering what would have happened if Dil Chahta had come out when we were 22 or, at that age, So the things that we'd already tasted success, with everything that we did before that, And I remember Javed Akhtar, the first time he met me, he's saying, I've heard that you're like on top of your game in the industry that you work in. I said, no, sir, nothing like that, I'm just telling you. But so that's the thing, so arrogance, no, that's not something where we come from at all. No, I would never be that. Proud, very proud. I love our work. And, it's, I mean, everywhere that you go, I mean, I've seen older people, younger people, kids, who are like, you'd never expect them to listen to our music. But they love it. They sing all the songs and everything.
So I think for me, Kajrare, there was a point where you couldn't enter a space. Not a party, not a wedding, not a mall. You just couldn't enter a space without being faced with that song, which is amazing.
I know.
And so, okay, so if you're saying that, you don't feel that arrogance, then is there a fear that how am I ever going to top this? What are we going to do next? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, I know. You know how it is. You're as big as your last hit. And then, but yeah, we do take that pressure upon ourselves. That we always start the project with a little bit of fear. Butterflies. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? But like in fact, we were a little stressed out about Archie's. Because that was doing music which was like time-based music. That I hope we can do it well.
So Archie's actually confused a lot of people that way, right? Because you were writing the 60s for today, for the kids of today, and you needed to have appeal to that age group while also being authentic to the sound.
To the style. And the thing is that Loy and I mean, we listen to their music all the time. My uncle's records, my sister's records. I used to listen to You Lost That Love and Feeling every day. I used to listen to Help every day, Abbey Road every day, and the Beach Boys and the Ventures, so that is all ingrained, especially the Ventures.
The Ventures were in Archie's, so I could hear them,
Yeah, so all of that sound and everything was from there. So the first tune when we composed it just came together, I said, oh man, this is the sound that we want, and it just started flowing. So actually Loy, I mean, the way he was composing, he just put his fingers on the piano, the mic in the front, we'd got tape rolling, and he'd just sing out a song. That's it, beginning to end, he'd just sing the song out,
Because you had gone a whole career waiting for this opportunity to be able to make this music.
Really. And that's the way we function mostly. Everything that we do is, using different styles of music. You can't really say that this is a Shankar-Ehsaan-Loy style. That, this song sounds like that typical kind of stuff. No, we've changed from Rock On to Gajare to Jhoom Barabar Jhoom to Prithviraj Chauhan to, it's all changed. The music kept changing. Or Bandish Bandits, which was completely different, all Indian classical and that kind of thing. So, we adapt ourselves to the script, very well. But all of that's come from the music that we've listened to, all these years growing up and, enjoying. And that's what I thought, has always made us special. But that makes us special, because our music's special, but it doesn't mean that it works all the time.
It doesn't mean it works all the time.
And that's something that you've got to really be prepared for.
So, I mean, there's also the challenge of teamwork. I mean, you're a 3-member band. Shankar tends to be more recognized. You've always been, on purpose, quieter?
Well, it's just the way I am. As you know, I'm not.
Has there ever been friction? And I'm not asking for like Bollywood gossip here. I'm actually asking from what can you teach us, those of us who are watching right now, about working in a team for these many years and staying in a team? Because it couldn't have been easy.
Not at all. Not at all. We've had major ups and downs. I mean, which is like the way. Mostly creatively, because we fight a lot. And like I said, I like to be objective. As a result of it, sometimes I lose it. I've left the band about like 20 times at least, and I've taken my bag. I said, I'm going home. I'm not coming back, and our manager's sitting there, and she'll call me up desperate. Ehsaan, are you sure you want to do this?
And so are you the one who walks away?
Always me. It's always me.
It's always you. You don't take turns to sort of...
No. It's always me.
It's always you.
And in fact, when we were doing Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, and we were working on one song, and I argued with...
May I just say that's an amazing album. Please
go ahead. I argued with Shankar and Loy about the song, that no, this is not the way it should be. We shouldn't do it that way. We shouldn't do it. And finally I said, forget this, I'm leaving SEL. And Zoya said, do me a favor, let my movie get over. Leave after the movie's over, please. But they're used to it. But the thing is that I do get effervescent about that. But it's purely because, I want something, and for all three of us, for it to be something even more special than what we've done before. So it's quite a thing, it's an emotional experience.
So it's mostly creative friction.
Creative friction, and the other thing, you have to leave your egos at home, and if you want to work that way, forget about that.
But as you become more and more successful, it becomes more and more difficult to do that, because now there are 3 stars, as opposed to 3 musicians, or even before that, just 3 young men in a room together. Now, each of you has careers, you have accomplishments, you're coming into that room. How do you then still leave your ego behind?
Well, like we said, the coffee tastes the same every day when you go home. That's it. You leave especially, let me describe Loy.
Okay.
A musician who's blessed. Literally, I think he's like an angel on this earth. He just puts his hands on the piano and he just comes out with melodies. You know, I mean, literally, I've never heard him play something bad. He'll just play, you know, and then literally Shankar has to go and hit capture on the recorder so that we can capture what Loy is playing.
And you're not losing
because, you
it,
know,
yeah.
and doesn't do that because he's forgotten it in the next second. In fact, he's even forgotten which movie we were working on the next day. So, which movie we were working on? Whose movie is that? I said, man, Zoya's film, we were working on it from yesterday. Oh, yes, correct. You know, he's that kind of guy. Then you have Shankar, who's like very, very, very on it. You know, he's very on it, and he's the most super positive guy that you can meet.
Okay.
You know, I've never come across somebody more positive.
Give me an example of what that's
I
like.
mean, there's never a dull moment with him. He'll never come down and say, "Oh man, you know, I'm feeling this way. You know, I'm feeling this way." He will come in saying that, "Man, you know, I'm sorry, I know I had to come late. You know, somebody died at a funeral in the morning. Okay, let's get to it." And you know, that's it. So it works in this magical way, which really is, you know, with me, it's a lot different. You know, I like to argue. I like to ask, you know, but let's try this. No, this sounds like something else. No, let's try this. You know, but sometimes almost, you know, the two of them get pissed off with me because I tend to shoot something down before it's even developed because my reaction is like immediate. You know, yeah.
So tell me what your process is like. Let's assume a director has come to meet you and they say, "Hey, we have this project." Then what happens?
Well, first we'll always listen to the script. Most important, you know, you have to know what you're composing for. Then you'll get into the situations that you know, and that's like a to and fro thing. That, you know, maybe it shouldn't be here, the music. Maybe, you know, this song should be in this place or whatever. And very often filmmakers are open to that as well. Then we get into the studio and we literally jam. There's nothing that we have in terms of a bank account.
So at that point, you know that, okay, we need 4 songs,
Yeah.
and this is effectively the point of the script. The song is going to come in there. This is what it has to do. This is the emotion, this is the feel, all of that.
And we come up with just ideas. We run tape, and not tape, hard disk. And I still say tape because that's the generation where I recorded from. Anyway. So, and we just record ideas. We record ideas constantly. Shankar singing, I'm playing something on guitar, little something on keyboards, Loy's doing his thing. And then we go through it and we find little parts. This part is nice. Let's use this. We pull it out, copy it somewhere else. That part nice. And then we start, you know, joining it together and the song starts happening. And at the end of that, we may just bounce the whole thing. You know? Say, no, this is not good. Let's start again. You know, so the process is very organic.
How long does that take?
It depends. You know, sometimes like the song, I mean, it's become a famous story. You know, Kal Ho Na Ho, the song took us 10 minutes to compose. We did all of Dil Chahta in 2 days. Composition and the words were done in 2 days. Now, simple song like Where's the Party Tonight from Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna took us 3 weeks to do. We just couldn't nail it. Every item kind of dance song we tried was like, oh God, this sucks. You know, it's horrible. Let's not do this. Then one day this was Where's the Party Tonight? This phrase came up and the whole song came together. You know, so that happens, you know, mostly. Sometimes you're working on stuff for weeks and you don't get an idea. But that's the way it is. And in fact, that is a major point sometimes of disappointment, you know, where you feel this is a failure, you know, we're not nailing it. So immediately we say, let's wrap it up. You know, let's wrap it up, let's go home, you know, over the weekend. Don't even think about it. And that's what I do sometimes, even when I have to write something, I'm coming up with something at home, you know, and not getting an idea. I just leave it. And in fact, that's what a lot of kids also ask me, what do we do when we hit that creative block? Just leave it and do something else. Don't go and pick up your guitar in another room or something like that. No. Do something else. Go for a walk, watch some TV, read a book, you know, and then suddenly it comes to you. And like with me, most of my composition ideas come when I'm not in the studio. And in fact, with me, I've got a very short attention span. So more than 20 minutes in the studio, I have to get out.
Okay.
So, you know, Shankar and Loy are used to that. So I'm walking up and down the corridor of the studio. And then I'll come with an idea. Okay, let's try this in this part, you know. That's the way it works with me. So it's...
When you're making films, right, and a director has come and, you know, he's telling you what the script is about, is there an element of, and this is being talked about a lot, there's messaging in every film. Like Tare Zameen Pe had a definite message. There are films now that are arguably misogynistic.
Yes.
There are films now that are arguably propaganda projects.
Yeah.
Does that affect whether or not you choose a project? Would you say, no, I don't want to do this, or?
Well, the thing is, I mean, luckily, I mean, the projects that have come to us, which is where I feel that there is some kind of intervention, you know, has always been good projects and nothing to do with anything that's controversial or anything that could.
How lucky are you? Yeah.
Really. And it's lucky that all the filmmakers and all that we work with, you know, are into that zone of like making good cinema. They're all very erudite and they're all very film savvy, and, you know, they know the knowledge of cinema and they want to make good movies, you know, and that's basically what we've always done and always worked for. Now, whether they work or not is nobody's, you know, you don't know what the public wants. But we've never had that kind of thing of doing. I mean, a couple of producers have come to us. I mean, you've not even heard of those producers with this big spiel of what they're making, you know, this film about, like, you know, the singer and, you know, maybe based on the story of Shakira and all that and this thing. And they've shown us the poster of the film. And it's nothing short of a porn film. They said, just fold it up. Yes, sir, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Shirin call up the producer and tell him that we're going to charge at least 10 times of what we normally charge. And that guy's gone.
Has anyone ever said yes, though? Yes, I will give you 10 times. Now make my semi-porn film.
No. No, then there's the excuses of the dates and this. We politely get out of it.
How difficult is it to say no?
That's
a large part about being a grown-up, right?
It used to be difficult to say no, because there's one time when you wanted to do everything. We did a couple of films which were like, didn't turn out to be they were not very good films at all. But now, you know, we have to sometimes just say it. But you have to do like a bit of a, you know, wrap around. You can't just say, no, I don't want to do it. We have said that to a couple of people. But by and by, you know, you'll make an excuse about dates and, you know, this and that. And, you know. But it is, you have to be able to say no.
So, because in life, not just professionally, but also personally.
Yes,
there
absolutely.
Are some people you just have to draw a line and say, hey, you know, I'm drawing a boundary here.
Yeah.
This is not okay for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I know I am. Several people, contrary to popular belief, I am. I hate confrontation.
Yeah.
I hate having to have that uncomfortable conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm exactly the same.
I'll do anything. I'll put up with, you know, any level of discomfort, but I don't want to have that conversation. How do you do it? What's your
actually, let's put it this, I think I leave Shankar to it. Because he's very good at doing that.
That's the advantage of having a team.
He's very good at doing that. You know, Loy, poor guy, we don't listen him to it because he probably confused it even further.
Yeah.
He's just such a sweetheart, you know. But the thing of saying no, I mean, you think about it, you know, the way we've been brought up, we've been told no all the time. You know, whether it's in school or whether it's at home, you know, it is not as easy as kids have it today. So when you've been taught that way, then you put that into practice as well, right? So you say no, but like I said, you have to do it like in a polite way. And mostly we leave Shankar to do that.
So if you're having trouble with confrontation, call Shankar.
I'm telling you, he's like the epitome of positiveness on this earth. Very few people I've met who are like that. You know? Really, very few people. And it comes out in his music. It comes out in every aspect of him. You know?
See, you said, of course, that kids these days are not used to.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember when I started my career, it was, I think, 6-8 months before I was allowed anywhere near a camera.
Oh, okay.
You had to log other people's stuff. You had to do grunt work for a while before anybody saw any potential in you at all. Right? And even then, you would do stuff that would wind up on the floor. Nobody wanted your work. And so you really have to hone that skill and really want it.
Yeah.
That's not what life is like anymore.
Not right now. It is way, way too competitive. And I think everyone wants like immediate gratification. Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's the way it is, which is why, like I said, you know, the lack of imagination is because people can get into Google and get information like this. And now with AI, it's gone to some other level. Whereas with me, in the corridor, there was like all the Encyclopedia Britannicas, which I used to literally open and refer to. And they say, you know, physiologically speaking, that when you do that kind of thing, your brain actually rewards you with...
Encyclopedia Britannica, kids, is a book.
It's a big, heavy book.
It's a series of books.
Many of them.
Alphabetical order. If you wanted to read about something, you had to look for it alphabetically and actually read. We did our school projects using those books.
Yeah, of course. And the other thing, like what I used to do, I still love opening the atlas and just looking through it. Literally Sundays, I'd be in the balcony and going through the arrows, seeing this little place, going with the magnifying glass. Oh, that's where Khandala is. That's where Lonavala. Nobody's even heard of an atlas anymore.
Google.
It's Google Earth. I mean, you just open it and go right in, and you can look into someone's house if you want to. It's just
don't look into people's houses.
Please don't. But it's a different thing, and actually, I kind of dread to think what the future is going to be like, even generations from now. How is the human brain going to function in this new way? You never know.
I think that's also perhaps why failure for younger folks is so much harder.
It is, yeah.
Because it's that whole argument, right? After the whole Silicon Valley thing, you have a garage, why aren't you a millionaire? Right? Because what else do you need? You just need that garage. Now you have all of these tools. And there's this talk about how AI will do everything for you.
Of course.
So why are you not a superstar? You have YouTube, you have a camera on your phone, you have all of these things. What's your excuse for being ordinary? And I think that's really dangerous.
It's dangerous, and the thing is that the disappointment, this kind of depression at such a young age, can really snowball into something even bigger. Which I know because my niece used to be an influencer, and she was doing really well. Really, my sister's daughter doing really well. She got married, and then there was things that her partner started getting doing personal kind of stuff. So my niece said, I'm stepping out of it. So I don't want to be part of this thing anymore, where I'm going to have this pressure. Now honestly, just bring up my family and have my own life, which is a smart thing to do. But a lot of people don't do that. And then you see it, it goes deeper and it goes deeper and it goes deeper, and then one day it's not there anymore, and you just crash completely, crash and burn. And
also learning to live without that constant validation from the internet.
Absolutely.
The likes, the comments, the reels that are being shared.
You can't base your life on that.
It's not real.
Way. It's not real at all. You can't base your life on that. So, which is why, with us, we can use AI if you want, because I have a lot of arguments with people about that. Will AI create a tune? I said, but will AI cry? Tell me if AI will cry. Will they really cry if I played something? Will it feel that? So they didn't have an argument for that.
There are some scientists who will argue that it will eventually learn how to do that. Again, and that's the big question that artists are asking right now, right? AI might be able to write a tune, but can it make you feel something?
Yeah.
And do you think, from where you're sitting right now, and you've seen the journey we've taken to get this far, from tape to spools to just recording on a hard drive and being able to actually layer things on your computer, to what AI is able to do, or may be able to do in the future, do you think there is a fear that it will replace musicians in the studio?
I don't think it can happen, because the thing is that with actual playing, there's so many organic things that happen. The element of mistake. Now, if AI starts learning that, it's the element of mistake that makes things sound special, actually. Like Miles Davis said, there's no wrong note. It's a note that comes after that, which makes that wrong note right, So, AI will not be able to do that. That state of mind, that spark of the thought that happens at that moment, I don't think AI will ever be able to do that,
I was reading something on my way over here, and you just reminded me of it, which said, there is no failure. There's just winning and learning. And so every time something is wrong and something doesn't work, you just keep pushing? Is that?
Yeah, see, winning and learning. Now, the thing is that when you take it from the point of the internet and social media, the learning from that is a big life lesson, where you learn so much that you probably have to drop doing what you were doing earlier completely. Or you're so strong in your mind that that the failure of not getting enough likes or anything is just something that's not organic. It's just something that's happening. It's, artificial, and you got to get over that. But then you've seen what's been happening with kids now.
What is your advice to kids who are picking up guitars right now?
Well,
from a mental health point of view, obviously.
Well, I think it's a very good thing. See, the thing is, I run an education program in schools with a friend of mine, and we've seen the difference we've seen the difference. It's been running like now for about 7 or 8 years, and the kids who picked up guitar, they actually become better in their studies because of playing instruments. I'm not saying just guitar, keyboards, whatever. The parents are saying that they're spending less time playing computer games.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's another thing they pointed out to me, that they're playing a computer game or an iPad game, and they don't realize that what's written in the corner is this game is for 17 plus. And the children who are playing it are like 8 or 9, and that kind of stuff. That's not very good for them. And so the thing is that a lot of them are playing music in between their studies. So when they finish their studies, they've got like nothing to do. You pick up the guitar and just like strum and this thing. It's made them into more calm people. They become more calm. They're not like throwing tantrums so much. So the thing is, start learning guitar and try and keep it organic. Try and learn from somebody. Refer to the internet. I mean, the internet's there it's a gold mine. There's so much good stuff there too.
Yeah.
But learn from somebody, because that is really what will make, a big difference. When somebody tells you, place your fingers like this, and place your hand like this, place your shoulder like this, that really helps. That's the way I learned, and that's the way a lot of us learned. I learned from this gentleman called Bismarck Rodriguez, who passed away a few years ago at the age of 92, and he was teaching till the age of 91. And it was his encouragement. He used to call me his champion, my champion, in the typical Goan accent. And that was what I needed, YouTube won't do that.
Actually, that's the other thing, right? So your teachers will teach you a skill, but also that encouragement.
The encouragement,
and the feedback, and cutting you down to size once in a while when you need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Telling you're playing it wrong, it's completely wrong.
And I think that from India at least, we have that culture, right? So we have the guru.
Of course.
The idea of riyaz, which you have to do. It doesn't matter how big you get, you have to get up in the morning and you have to do your practice for a certain number of hours. And so you're saying that holds good.
That it really holds good. It's from personal experience, I'm saying it holds good. And from having been to music school, I mean, like I said, there are guitar players today who've not done any of their education and they're great players. But I still say learn from somebody.
I want to also talk about personal failure. I want to point out that there is nothing about you on the internet about your personal life. What have you done?
Well, you know how it is. That I prefer to keep.
The fact that you managed to keep that.
It's better to keep it aside because that's not what I mean. There's so much else that is what I'm all about. And the thing is that, I do believe, and, maybe that doesn't work for a lot of people, but a lot of musicians will agree with that, all over the world, that your biggest commitment in your life is to your music. So a musician's love is his music, So whoever your spouse is or your partner, I think has got to be very hip to that,
Have you ever had personal failure? How have you dealt with it?
Well, personal failure, you deal with it. I mean, you deal with it because it hurts. It can upset you. It can tear the ground from under you. But you take help. I mean, the thing is that, I went through a lot of anxiety in my life, not only because of because of anything kind of like a relationship. From childhood, there's been problems. My father died when I was very young, and there was a lot of things that went on in my life. And the thing is that these things don't hit you till you're much older.
Yeah.
Suddenly when you're about 35 or 36, you say, oh God, why am I, like you're saying, confrontation. I had a problem with confrontation because I was very strictly brought up very strictly, and, that included a lot of shouting at and stuff like that. So I had to take help for it. I'm seeing a psychiatrist. I still see a counselor. Even now, even though I'm like 100% better, but, there are moments there, that stuff. Whatever you go through in your life personally, whether it's family or whatever, you got to remember that it gets written into your DNA. It gets written into your cell memory somewhere, and it wakes up, at times. And be aware of that, and don't ever be shy of telling somebody that you want to go and see a counselor, or you're seeing a counselor, or you're seeing a psychiatrist. I think it's perfectly okay. I would say it openly. And then I do meditation, and I do Buddhist chanting, and I do all kinds of stuff actually, so. You have to do all of that, you've got to keep on that center path.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that there is no one who's had a perfect upbringing in the sense that there's no scars, because life happens to all of us.
Yeah. The school of hard knocks. I mean, everybody, Yeah.
When you look back today at your entire career, and obviously, God willing, there's many more decades to come. What is the one thing you've learned that you did not know when you started?
That is a really tough question. Because the thing is that experiences and everything that I've been through has taught me so much. Taught me so much about myself. I mean, actually, the maximum things that I didn't know were things about myself. That all the experiences in my life have taught me. Whether it's things from your childhood coming out when you're later on in life, things that creative little moments when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Which have affected me now, I mean, I have this good, beautiful story, and it's really something very magical. When I was about 4 or 5, my mom used to have the radio on all the time.
Yes.
And listening to Hindi music, it's just keep playing, and all lovely songs at that time, I must say. So there's some songs that I would listen to by, Madan Mohan and all. When I'd listen to it, I'd feel like I was like lifted from this earth, I'd feel like this elation and like a spiritual, I mean, I didn't even know spiritual existed then, but something very special. Then around the time when we were doing Dil Chahta Hai, that time FM used to only come in the morning between 10 and whatever, or 8 or whatever. And then Akashvani used to take over. And I was driving to the studio in the afternoon, and I was listening to a music appreciation thing on Akashvani, where there was a man who was playing the sarod. And there was different rags that he was demonstrating. Now he played one rag, and I felt something. I said, "What is this rag?" And they said it was the rag Bhim Palasi. So I made a note of it. I got to the studio, we finished work, I got home, and internet had just started then. And I got onto the computer and I typed the name. I typed Bhim Palasi. So of course one website came about the actual rag, what it's all about, and that I didn't look at. But then I saw another thing at the bottom saying Bollywood songs in Bhim Palasi. And I clicked on that website. Every tune that I liked as a child was in that rag. I'm getting goosebumps talking about every tune that I liked as a child was in the same rag. I mean, how? So, now when I think about it now,
there was something in your spirit that was responding to that.
There was something there. There was something there. That everything that I listened to in that rag, even now when I listen to it, it just makes me feel magic. And Shankar, in fact, tells me, Ehsaan, please, not Bhim Palasi again. Please, not Bhim Palasi again. There's a million other rags, but not Bhim Palasi again. So it's there. It's a magical thing. Like every day for me is a learning experience. Every day for me, it's, I'm not a person who's like, oh, I'm permanently happy and I'm permanently positive. I go up and down, I go up and down. I for me, like I call it the roller coaster of the creative mind. You're up and you're down and you're up and you're down. And it could happen like 3 times a day. It could happen once in a month. But you've got to go through that. It's one thing we learn, And the thing is just being aware of what you're feeling, being aware of your being in touch with yourself is very important. And even when you're in touch with yourself, you still will not have discovered enough about what is hidden, within you. And it just keeps coming up.
So would you say, and since you use the word spiritual, I'll stick to the word spiritual. Would you say that it's also important then to sort of listen in for input?
Absolutely.
Whether you want to call that divine input, spiritual input, whatever it is, just the input that's coming. Because if you were not paying attention to that Akashvani show, and I'm smiling because I used to work for Akashvani in Bangalore, back in the day. So if you were not paying attention, and I know for sure because I used to work there, Akashvani doesn't repeat itself. It will not say it again. Right. It will not say that introduction twice. Yeah. You would have missed it.
Yeah.
And you would have missed that entire revelation. How important is it to just be open and to just listen?
You have to be. And that is what I've kept myself. Actually, the thing is that, I could be somebody saying, oh, I just want to play the blues. I love playing the blues. But the thing is, even what I learned in school from the musicians there, when I went to music school, is that do the gig. Do any gig that comes your way. Be a working musician. Don't be a musician with tunnel vision or with blinkers, that I'm only going to do this. It doesn't work that way. And that's the way what I followed. I mean, I've played with Louis Banks when we played it as part of his studio setup. We played at the Rendezvous for like dinner, when people were eating dinner. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've played with Hindi jingle composers. I've played like on Tamil Tamil jingles, I've played on English jingles, I've composed my own jingles. Then I've like, there's just so much, you have to be open. You have to keep yourself open to all of that. And of course, there's a lot of your own private part which you keep only to yourself.
Yes.
Which is very important too,
Ehsaan, thank you so much for speaking with me. It's been a fantastic conversation. I'm glad I was nervous because it was totally worth it.
Well, it was fun. Thank you. Thank you.
And, I hope we can talk a lot more in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank
I look
you.
forward to it.
Thank you for the interview and thank you for the music.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.